Hello, I'm Jackie Lucky, your financial planning maestro. This series of podcasts is aimed at financial planning professionals and also those who are looking to enter the financial planning profession. We will be talking during the podcast about all things Certified Financial Planner certification related, talking to other CFPs around the world, and also we will be dropping in on some new entrants who've just entered the financial planning profession, and we'll be checking up along the way on a regular basis with them to see how they're getting on. I hope you enjoy today's podcast. Hello and welcome. I'm Jackie Lucky, your financial planning maestro. And in today's podcast, we are talking to a very special person who has just become a certified financial planner. And so we are talking about his journey of how he got that far, about the ups and downs along the way and everything that it entailed. So please welcome Tristan Johnson, who is a financial planner at McKenzie Co Financial Consultants. Welcome, Tristan.
Hi, Jackie. Thank you.
Great to have you on board today. So before we get into all the nuts and bolts of how you got your head round the level 7 case study to become a CFP professional and obviously a chartered planner along the way, let me take you right back to the start. Give us a quick potted history of how you got into the financial planning profession.
So I started my career in IT, actually. I dropped out of university. Doing computer science at university, and it was around the millennium bug era, if you remember that, and managed to find myself working as a consultant, working on the millennium bug, and ended up specializing in banking. So I went contracting from about the age of 23 and seemed to specialize in banking with most of the large investment banks, usually working on their trading systems. So I did that for about 16, 17 years. And for the last 8 years, I was commuting up to London from Bath because after the credit crunch, I moved to Bath because there wasn't much going on in banking, surprisingly. And then I got another job in London. I thought I'd only do it for 6 months. It was just a 6-month contract. And then the lure of London and the contracting rates in London were so much higher than anywhere else in the country. But yes, this was before the days when you could regularly work from home. So I was commuting in on a daily basis, usually up to Canary Wharf. So it was about a 2.5 hour trip each way.
Yes, that's quite a journey, isn't it?
Pretty grueling. And I had the Sunday night dreads every Sunday, the thought of getting up and starting that week again. I had a young family and it was starting to grind me down a bit, to say the least. And then we had a Christmas dinner party at ours, had some friends over. And one of them worked at St. James's Place as a PDM, St. James's Place. And so I just asked because my only experience of financial advisors was being flogged life assurance and things like that. So I didn't really have much experience with them nor a high regard.
Yes.
My quandary was I had a big mortgage. I was earning well in London, and there was no job I could find in the West Country which would give me a similar kind of level of earnings. But she told me about the academy that SJP do, and that people can earn quite a lot of money being a financial advisor, financial planner. They run their own businesses and they have autonomy. So I thought, okay, well, I'll give it a go. I've got all the banking knowledge. I've got a lot of experience in finance and knew how equities and bonds and everything worked. So I went through quite a lot of interviews with SJP, and then they took me onto their academy. This was back in 2016. So I got qualified, level 4 qualified, and I was qualified from April 2017, and joined a chap who already had a practice in Bath, a guy called Ed McKenzie. He heard I was going through the academy, and because we had mutual friends, wanted to meet me. He had just bought out another practice, so needed an advisor to work with him and help him service his clients. So I joined him, and then within about 3 years, working on those clients and bringing in my own clients, I was then able and in a position to be able to buy into the practice and become a director with him, which was in 2020, just before lockdown.
Perfect timing again.
Perfect timing, yes. Yeah. But it was an interesting time. But it's something I've not looked back on. I didn't really continue my studies much. Obviously, I was doing my CPD, but I was so focused in those years on trying to build up my clients and I've not been one for exams. I did well in my level 4 exams.
Yeah.
Those were kind of more multi-choice, computer-based exams. But the RO6 exam was the handwritten one. I did pass that first time, but only by about 2%. So I've never really been very good at written exams.
Excellent. But, a pass is a pass. That's what I always tell people.
Exactly. I did just enough work.
Yes, absolutely. So how did you come across the certified financial planner and why did you decide to go down that route?
I had tried an AF level paper through the CII and didn't get along with it at all. It was coursework. I think it was a management one, and I just didn't really know head to tail from it. I wanted to get chartered, and the thought of having to do 5 or 6 different exams through the CII was filling me with dread. And then I went to a webinar which SJP hold regularly on the routes to chartered. And then they mentioned the CISI route to chartered, which involves one written exam and then a case study, which obviously sparked my interest.
Yes.
And the fact that you could get it done within a year.
Mm. Much more up your street then.
Yes, it's more my style. I was still worried about the written exam, but actually it wasn't too bad, the written exam. I studied quite hard for it, and in it being a holistic exam, I quite enjoyed rather than a specific exam which gets into the nuts and bolts of different areas such as investments or pensions. It was more holistic.
Yes. I mean, it's quite an unusual exam, that one, the level 6 exam, isn't it? It's kind of very broad and you don't really know what you're going to get. And I think the section B questions were kind of about, your opinions and thoughts on things like, the future of the financial planning profession or consumer duty and things like that, weren't they? Yeah.
And it was, I was still scribbling away on the paper right up until they said that we had to put our pens down.
Wow.
So I was worried about it, but I passed it luckily.
Fantastic.
And probably put about 10% too much effort into it.
And so then obviously the final step before becoming a certified financial planner and also becoming chartered with the CISI is the level 7 case study. So did you decide, once you got your pass result for the level 6 exam, did you decide to go straight on to the level 7? Was it straight in with both feet, or did you have a quick pause?
No, I thought, might as well get it over and done with. And it wasn't the best timing because it was quite stressful in our practice with, 2022 being a bad year and there's quite a lot of things going on, which caused a lot of stress. We had to let go of a few staff. But I just thought, well, I may as well do it, deliver all the bad news. Yeah, deliver all the bad news at once, so to speak, get it all done and dusted. But so I went straight into the first opportunity. And I'm glad I did, considering the budget changes.
Yeah.
Or else that would have made my case study a lot more complicated.
Yes, it would have done. Absolutely. Yes. And so tell us a little bit about, how did you approach your case study at the start? Are you the kind of person, for example, that, has to take blocks of time out? Did you block out time in your diary, or was it kind of an hour a day and weekends, fitting it in? What was your overall approach?
I'm a very disorganized person. I'm probably not your ideal type of student. And we had, as I said, quite a lot of stuff going on in the practice, which was having to be dealt with and fires to be fought. So I tried to put aside time, but it was quite difficult because something would always come along which was a higher priority. So it ended up being a mad rush at the end, which, but I had put in the beginnings of the work, so I knew, I guess where I let myself down and it down was my assumptions. I know you've got to work on the assumptions first and really get those nailed down. And I think that's probably something that financial planners, you just kind of take the assumptions that usually get given to you in a cash flow model, and you just run with those normally. But for this paper, it was a lot more thought had to go into assumptions.
Yes.
So I kind of lacked on those a little bit.
Yeah. But, I think for a lot of people, if it's the first time you've been asked to go into that much detail into a specific area that perhaps, obviously you're aware of using cash flow software anyway, but, never really had to sit down and kind of go, hang on a minute, to be forced to think through lots of different assumptions for that case study in such quite a significant amount of detail. And then not only that is thinking of the knock-on effects of that assumption. It's no mean feat, is it? That takes time, both, to kind of sink in to our grey matters, but also to kind of mull it over to make sense of it all.
Yeah. And it was quite difficult finding the research online and I mean, eventually, as long as, well, my opinion was that as long as it looked reasonable, which is one of the things that you've got to choose, obviously, and you could reason it, that I tried putting in links and finding the research which justified it. Sometimes a lot of the data was hidden behind a paywall, which was sort of frustrating on some websites. But the ONS had quite good data on it. But there was, I just tried to make the assumptions as best I could. But it was one of my markdowns in the results that I didn't justify my assumptions well enough.
Yeah. And so, obviously we did a course together. How did you find the explanations of, throughout the course on that area?
Yeah, well, that was the thing that helped me. So yes, it was definitely a lot of help, and having it set out and organized for me helped me greatly. Having it done in the order which it was set out in the course did help, because I think if I approached this being so disorganized by myself, I wouldn't have even known where to start. I'd have had writer's block and probably ended up just staring at a blank page for hours on end.
Yeah. It's difficult, isn't it? Because, with these case studies, you've essentially got 4 different client objectives that you're trying to solve all at the same time, haven't you? So without that structure, you're kind of, trying to put them all into your head to fix them all at the same time, which makes it very difficult.
Yeah, it does. But it was a great help having that.
That's good to hear. Thank you. That's £5.90.
Yes.
So how did you find, I mean, I know a lot of people struggle with the Excel spreadsheet skills, but obviously you're an IT buff. Did you find those a little bit more straightforward, or did I bend your brain into all sorts of different shapes with that one as well?
No, I've always used spreadsheets in my prior life as well, and I mean, even writing macros for spreadsheets. So the spreadsheets weren't an issue for me, and I mean, I know that you don't recommend using cash flow modeling software, but I kind of did a hybrid of both, where I would test a theory in the cash flow model and see where that came back with, and then was able to go back to the spreadsheet and put in the same thing. So it meant I could cycle through different approaches quite quickly, which helped me. And the cash flow model software that I was using actually was based, I think it was originally developed through spreadsheets. So I did actually check the numbers on the data at the back end of that, and it was coming back with the exact same figures as the ones which I was getting on my spreadsheet. Yeah.
Fantastic. That's always reassuring, isn't it? Rather than thinking, yikes.
I know,
what's going on here?
both systems were telling me the same thing, so I was quite happy with that.
Excellent. And so, do you think that, what happened when you submitted your case study, your financial plan for the assessment?
Well, like I said, it was a last minute dash. I was probably for about 3 weeks beforehand. I mean, I did everything wrong. You'd have been very shocked. I was working probably every weekend for about 12 hours for the 3 weekends, and then working until about 1 o'clock in the morning in the evenings.
Oh, gosh.
So, and I genuinely did not think I would pass, because I thought I hadn't done enough. And that I hadn't justified a lot of the things which I was putting through. And so I just assumed, I just tried to do as much as I could in every subject area in order to get the feedback, so that on second time I'd pass it. Which is why I also held back one-to-ones with you as well.
Yes, just in case.
Just in case, because I thought, well, I'm going to need those. I'll keep those in my back pocket.
Yeah.
But actually, I was still working on it the morning that I sent it off.
Oh, my word.
So I didn't have that nice week where I could sit down that you recommend and leave it and don't look at it for a few days and then go back to it. So I didn't have that luxury, unfortunately. I just literally finished it and submitted it, and then prayed.
Oh, wow.
So yes, if anyone's listening to this, don't follow my my method. It was very stressful.
Don't do as I do. Wow. Well, congratulations, Tristan, because passing on your first submission after everything that was going on in the background at work and all of the other issues that you've had along the way, as you say, typing into the morning of the submission deadline is, that's no mean feat, Mr. So very well done, and congratulations from all of us. I'm sure all of our listeners are thinking, yikes.
Yes, it was stressful. It was not,
yes.
I do not recommend it.
No, yes. So if you had your time again, I guess you would give yourself a bit more of a good talking to earlier on and set out your time slightly differently, would you?
Yeah. I mean, events always happen.
Yeah.
But the key is not to give up. Don't just, think, well, okay, I've run out of time. I won't bother. Just try and do as much as you can of every part of the case study. If only to get the feedback, but don't give up.
Don't give up. Yeah, I mean, that's what we say to everybody on the course, isn't it? That, we have all these different plans and strategies in place if you don't think you're going to quite make it to the end. But if you give it your maximum effort, well, firstly, you are testament to the fact that you just never know if you give it your all. But like you say, even if you fell short on your first submission, then it's still a relatively simple fix to pass on your second submission, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
So, well, fantastic. Yes, I rub my halo as we speak. It's been excellent fun guiding you along the way, and to share your journey with everybody. Because we see a lot of people on the podcast who are really organised, but there are other people who are listening who are kind of going, Yep, that's not me. That's just not me. So thank you for sharing all of that and your honesty. So
That's right.
just tell me about how long you think, do you have a rough idea of how long it took you to complete the whole process and submit that plan?
I would, again, wasn't as much as long as I should have given myself. I'd probably say it was just under 100 hours, but
Wow.
it's a difficult one to know.
Yes. I guess the
But
last few
because
days went by in a bit of a
yes,
blur as
it
well.
was a bit of a blur, and I guess on those days I probably was doing probably about 4 to 5 hours every evening, and then on the weekends about 12 hours a day. So
Gosh. Yeah.
I mean, it must have been over 100.
Yeah. But in that kind of ballpark, you think?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think where I was lucky is my IT experience. So I think a lot of people, a lot of hours is spent on spreadsheets and doing the cash flow model, which I save time on.
Yes.
So I was lucky in that area.
Fantastic. Yes. Well, everybody's different, aren't they? We all have different skills,
Yeah,
and bits where we struggle, and other bits where you think, "Oh, Jackie's making a fuss over nothing here. What is she on about?" So that's the way. We're all human, and we're all a bit different. So that's
exactly.
absolutely fine. So. Looking back now, I mean, I know it's only been a short period of time since you found out that you've passed, but looking back, do you think that moving forward, it is going to change how you run your business or how you give advice to your clients?
Yeah, definitely. And I think this is the way that financial advice or financial planning is going. It's with the Consumer Duty Act and everything. I think it's putting in a proper financial plan for your clients rather than it being more transactional is going to be the future. I mean, it is the present, of course, but I think there's a lot of software out there which can do all the drudgery in the background, but it's going to be much more relationship based, and putting in proper plans which you then go and review each year with the clients and see where they are and adapt it as things go along.
Yeah.
So it's, I mean, we always, when you start out in financial advice, you take any business that's coming your way, and if it's just a simple pension transfer or just setting up an ISA for someone, then you take it, and you don't really go into the planning side of things. But I think with my training through SJP, their academy, it was all about the holistic nature of financial planning. So I think I had quite good grounding.
Yeah.
And like I said, I've used cash flow modeling with a lot of clients, not all clients, but with a lot of clients, I do the cash flow modeling for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, it makes clients a lot more sticky if you do the proper job and you really understand what their goals and ambitions are, and you can show them in a plan them getting to those and achieving those, and also modeling market crashes and things like that to show what kind of crashes they can sustain and still meet their goals.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you hit the nail on the head there. Consumer duty, one of the component parts of consumer duty is to be able to demonstrate what a good outcome looks like for a client. And I just don't know how you can do that without a financial plan.
Exactly. Yeah.
You just can't, can you? I'm
No.
not sure you can. I'd be interested to hear whether anybody can, but yeah, I think that's where it comes into its own. And does that mean then that looking forward, you're going to be more discerning about the type of client that you take on? Because obviously you're carrying more risk, essentially, aren't you? If you do take on
Yeah.
clients who perhaps don't need or want a financial plan yet.
Yeah, I think that's correct. You especially with having to see the client once a year, you know, and if you don't, then you have to switch off their ongoing advice fee, which is completely correct to do so.
Yeah.
I think you are more discerning about clients, and having CFP qualification gives me far more confidence to actually turn clients down, and also when discussing fees and things like that, you actually have a lot more confidence to say, well, look, I'm as highly qualified as you can pretty much get in this industry now.
Yes.
So I'm one of the best. Well, not personally. I mean, I don't tell my clients this, but when you've got the qualifications to back you up, then you feel like you're justified in having discussions and with clients around charges and justifying those charges, because you know that you are going to put them in a much better place than a lot of other financial advisors out there.
Yes, absolutely.
Or if they did it themselves.
Yeah. So, Tristan, we are nearly at the end of our interview today, but I just have one final question to ask you, and that is about what advice would you give for those people who are starting or even thinking about starting their journey to become a certified financial planner and chartered with the CISI?
Well, I would say, first of all, just do it. It's brilliant. If you don't like doing exams, although the exam is a tough exam, once you've done it, it's coursework from there on. So obviously the first tip would be to go to training and sign up to Lockheed Consultants.
Thank you. That's £10.
But because that was a real great help. And it did help me organize myself, which I definitely need. On the case study side, I would say keep it simple. I did go on to the some of the chat boards on your site to see what other, you can kind of guess what case studies people are on. And I did see people on the same case study as me who are, I didn't know whether I was missing a trick, but it seemed to be like they were complicating things too much.
Yes.
Like offshore bonds and things like that. And if it's I mean, for my case study, it was literally as simple as pensions and ISAs with a unit trust to feed the ISAs, and that was it. It didn't need to be any more complicated than that. And going down investment bonds, offshore bonds, and things like that. So anyway, I'd say keep it as simple as possible, and it really is. Sometimes the simplest is the best. And third tip, don't leave it all to the last few weeks.
Don't do it, Tristan.
Don't do a Tristan on it.
Yes, definitely. Plan out your time. Make sure you give yourself enough time when you pick your case study as well. If
do a lot of the
big
grunt
events.
work up front.
Yeah, do the grunt work up front. Yes, absolutely. Tristan, thank you so much for sharing your journey with us all today. It's been a real privilege to talk to you and to support you along the way to become a CFP and also a chartered planner as well. So congratulations from us all once again.
Thank you very much. It's been great.
It's really interesting, isn't it, to listen to different people who have different experiences of gaining their certified financial planner certification or maybe developing the financial planning profession at large. If you know anybody who you think might be interested in listening to any of these podcasts, then please do pass on our details. That's it for me. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. See you again soon. Bye for now.